Good morning, good morning. What's up, folks? How's everybody doing this morning? Good to see you guys here on the YouTube side of things. Discord looking a little empty, but I'm sure folks will start to file in here shortly. We are right at 8:30. I am jumping on it at the very first second of the 8:30 time frame hitting. So hope everybody's doing well. I hope your week's going green so far. We're going to talk a little bit about what we're seeing in the markets in general through the lens of course, futures, as we always do. We'll get through our trade plan recaps from our last live stream, and then, of course, we will be doing some new trade plans live here as a team this morning. And I think Chris, actually, let me see if I can find this real quick. I want to say it was in the main options chat. He had a really interesting idea for a ticker in main options chat. Let's see, how would I find this from Chris? And then maybe I can even narrow it down to mentions JTW. All right, let's see. So Celsius, that's what it was. So we'll put that on the list. Good thought from our homie Chris there. So let me go ahead and get that pulled up just so I don't forget. Then we'll get to our market analysis, our recaps, and we'll get to work. Sorry for the slight little deviation there this morning. All right, let me get back over to the chat side of Discord. I see we got some YouTube folks filing in. What's up, Unknown Reviews? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well this morning. All right, so let's dig into things a little bit. Let's talk about what we're seeing here on ES. Looks like we are essentially trying to break out and break back through this current all-time high here on ES futures. We've got some fib extensions in place overhead, and we talked about this a little bit on Tuesday's live stream. Let me get a little coffee action in my life there. Sorry about that. We put these fib extensions in place, these kind of pinkish ones, during Tuesday's live stream, and I think they're good to keep on watch. Wait, where did my little chat window go? Over here. There we go. The real interesting cluster, we talked about this on Tuesday for me, is right up around this 60.17 to 60.22 area. I think if we can get a break over this, a confirmed break over this 59.16 kind of fib extension ceiling that we're under, you see us trying to push here this morning to make that happen. That could be pretty interesting, and I think ultimately will lead a series of higher lows up toward that cluster of fib extensions up in that 6,017 to 60.22 range. So keep that on watch. What's up, Chris? Good morning. I've already pulled up Celsius for you, buddy. So we'll take a look at that for sure. That's a good request. And of course, if you guys have any others, as I talk through this stuff, I see Unknown Reviews wants to take a look at Netflix. We'll do Netflix as well. But if you guys have any other ticker requests or any questions you want me to address while we're doing this, of course, as always, chime in, let me know. We'll get to those as soon as we possibly can. So again, ES futures looking good, trying to break out, possibly double top in here, right around this 59.18. If you want to just kind of make it an easy round number, 59.20 is where it's kind of keeps topping out at. So again, we could see a breakout above this, and if and when we do, we do have some fib extensions in the way on the way up there, but the really interesting cluster of multiple sets of fib extensions that I've done over a long period of and at various points in time all kind of hangs out right up here in the 60.17 to 60.22 area. If you want to kind of make it an easy round number, just call it 60.20, right? Split the difference. So keep that on watch. Keep that on watch. If we can break over 59.20, I think we see, so that's a, that's a 100-point move on futures, which is pretty solid. I'm not saying we see that, immediately or even, excuse me, gosh, sorry, I've got the yawns this morning, or even within a single day, but I think that's ultimately the path that we will be on if and when we break this current double top situation that we're dealing with here on ES. So with that out of the way, let's get to our 2 tickers that we did on Tuesday, and then we'll get to those new requests. Again, we've got Netflix and Celsius on the docket already for this morning. If anybody else has any other tickers they want me to take a look at while we're doing this, please, please, please reach out. Let me know. We will certainly get those included, assuming that we have time. And of course, as always, feel free to ask questions as we go through any of this. So what do we have here on Mind Medicine? We had a nice big move yesterday. We got the break over our call entry. Pretty much took us right up to PT1. Let's see, what did this top out at yesterday? High 656, 6 cents off. I'd say that's pretty close. I would like it to be a little bit more exact, or even on the high side of this, given that we're talking about a ticker that trades in the dollars, but ultimately running up against weekly resistance here. Hey, Helen, good morning to you. Yeah, we can take a look at AMD. So 662 is our first price target. So, I would expect to see this hit, and I would certainly, if you're on options contracts, scale some out at open this morning if you didn't already on that big move yesterday. And if you're working with shares, I would certainly scale some out there as well, or at the very least, move your stops up to break even, and let the play keep working in your favor. So, MNMD looking good so far. Rivian, this one's kind of been nothing to see here so far. We do have a pretty wide range as far as our entry levels go, but I think that that's appropriate for Rivian. I think it's also okay. Never mind. I was looking at a different ticker then. I was gonna say I think it's also been trading on lower volume. I mean, it is trading on somewhat lower volume, but it's not concerningly low. So that doesn't mean a whole lot. And there was something else I was looking at that was like trading in like the low millions that normally trades much higher. I thought maybe off the top of my head for a second there that was Rivian, but I was mistaken. So anyway, again, nothing to see here. We're still, golly, I need to chug some coffee this morning. Oh, no, I didn't review that, but we can take a quick look at it. We didn't do a full plan for that, so I actually forgot about it because I didn't post a chart for it. But yeah, we can take a look at that as well. But Rivian, again, waiting for that break below 990 or break over 1092. I do like that the 333 SMA is catching up with this 1092. So there could wind up being a confluence of resistance that we would break through. If that did happen or play out like that with Rivian, I think that it would open quite a bit of room for more upside. So anyway, that's Rivian. Let's get to DJT real quick. Thank you for catching that. Chris, like I said, I go back and look at what charts I posted, and I didn't do a full plan or post a chart for DJT, so I forgot that we even talked about it. And what was our thought process here? We're looking for a break over 38.66 with those targets to the upside, because I think the actual question was like, what would be the short squeeze kind of levels? And again, I think that there's a potential move up from 38 to 43 if 38.66 gives way. But I think the real, quote unquote short squeeze, and I don't know if I haven't looked at the stats on it, if it's even got a heavy amount of open short interest on it. That's, the other requirement for a short squeeze, is there has to be enough shorts to be forced to cover for it to actually squeeze. So I don't know the statistics on that. It may not, I don't even know if shares are shortable. I'd be surprised if they weren't. But anyway, I digress a little bit there. So yeah, again, over 43.64, I think is where the bigger move happens. And that could certainly wind up triggering some kind of a short squeeze, assuming that there is enough short interest out there, betting against DJT. So yeah, I mean, that's really kind of all I have in the way of a recap. So far it's a nothing to see here. Kind of interesting lower high on this, slight recovery move that it made, rejecting essentially the same level though, which was, if I remember correctly, wasn't it also the 200 SMA? Yeah, on the daily. So that was a pretty hard rejection, pretty quick recovery though, but again, looks like it's getting pushed back down, or at least so far, starting this day off with a little bit of a sell candle. So, yeah, it's in a weird spot, right? Because we've got this two. I mean, it looks bullish overall in Neptune, except for that really firm rejection right there, the 200 SMA. But what were the hourly chart? Sorry, and we did roll this. I think that puts this bear flag here on the hourly kind of right in the same position as that 200 SMA on the daily. So the other thing I would say that would probably be an interesting trade setup would be to potentially try to short it at anywhere in this 34.31 to 33.26 range. Try to short it for a move back down to this recent bottom, this recent low, and stop out if it breaks over 38.66. But again, those are kind of my quick thoughts on it, since you asked, Chris. So hopefully that's helpful. Let's take a look at all right, so Celsius was the first one. Chris actually mentioned this in the chats yesterday, so let's get to this. We've got 30-ish minutes. That's a good amount of time to get through some trade plans here. I thought I had done a little bit more. Did Celsius have a split, or have they just sold off this much? Weren't they trading much higher not too long ago? Yeah, they were. I'm not crazy. And they have not. They did a split way back then. That doesn't, yeah, that's got nothing to do with where their price is at currently. Okay, well, I don't have a whole lot that I feel confident about on the chart right there, with just a kind of a handful of weekly levels sprinkled in there. So let's take a look at this just for a moment. I'm going to hide my indicators so we can find our levels. Yeah, this is boy, you say consumer not spending enough. I mean, I feel like my wife shows up with a case of Celsius every other day. It feels like. That being said, yeah, we also have a fair amount of disposable income, so that's probably why she shows up with a case of Celsius every other day. All right, so let's see. Yeah, we definitely got a weekly level sitting right. It's right about there. All right, yep, we got a weekly, although that's probably the highest we're going to need to look at as far as any near-term levels go, but that's fine. It was still a good weekly resistance there. Got another one there. Let's see where this bounce came from, if this is kind of a one-time thing, or is this an established level? I think it could be, or is, actually a pretty well established and confirmed level. Hey, what's up, Alchemy? I will try to take a look at UNH. We've got a handful of requests on the docket already, but I will certainly, at the very least, try to give you some input or insights, even if I can't give you a full trade plan. I'm happy to take a quick look at it for you. Hope you're doing well, by the way, and hope everybody's doing well. Good morning again. What are we talking about? Potential bottom fishing, lower time frames. Are you talking about DJT or Celsius, Chris? Probably Celsius, I'm guessing. But just want to make sure we're on the same page. All right. Oh, shit. I've been doing all these like they're weekly levels and not on the weekly chart. That's not great. Well, that's okay. I was doing it with all of them, so at least it was consistent and easy to fix. Okay. Let's see if any of those do equate to... Yeah, I think this is a weekly level, though. That is... Let's take a quick look at these other ones. This is as well. The rest of these are daily levels. Yeah, no, I was saying, hey, what's up, David? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I was saying, Chris, I wasn't sure if when you were talking about what looks good on lower time frames in the bottom fishing comments, were those in regards to DJT or Celsius? I'm assuming Celsius because that's kind of what we're actively looking at, but we were also just talking about DJT a second ago. And Celsius is definitely more beat up at the moment. DJT was very beat up for quite a while. But has had some good days as of late. Then it had a really bad day more recently, and then kind of had a decent-ish recovery day yesterday, but it's back on the sell and overall making a lower high at this point. The other thing that I would say is, I don't know if you all have looked at the earnings reports or the user demographics or anything like that from kind of what True Social, I guess, is what it's actually called as far as the platform that people get on. Those numbers are bad. And I don't think, in my personal opinion, I think, a lot of folks are looking at that as a political trade, if you will. My personal take on it is, regardless of who wins the White House, I don't think that that's going to really change the Truth Social user base, right? Most of those, more right-leaning types are heavily invested in things like Twitter and Rumble and those other platforms. And, you're never going to get, left-leaning types onto Truth Social ever. So, while some of them will continue to engage and commingle in places like X. So my long-term thesis on DJT would be short every rip possible. And that's not a political statement. That's just based on their numbers. They have a very, very small user base, and they're not performing well, and their advertising is very limited. They missed horribly on their last earnings report, and I think the expectations were pretty low. So, and I don't know when they're next. Can somebody check that for me? Yeah, it's definitely a meme ticker for sure, Chris. I would say that, absolutely. And Chris, I don't know if you have the ability or the opportunity to, I don't know where you're at the moment, if you're driving or whatever. God, I hope you're not chiming in and driving, actually. Don't do that. But if anybody has the info on when the next earnings is for DJT, that would be helpful information. Well, what am I talking about? Let me just see if... That's weird. Do they... No, they have to report earnings. They're listed on the NASDAQ. Yeah, thanks, Chris. If you can find that out, I don't know why I'm not seeing it right here in the info. Okay, 11. That's a weird coincidence. Right after the election. So, yeah, my personal take on that again is short the rips on that one, especially with that kind of compounds that whole political trade idea even further, I would say. And again, I don't think that the election is going to heavily influence the future of True Social and therefore the DJT stock, because again, those users already kind of have a home, and I don't if they were going to shift over to True Social, they would have done it by now. They're not waiting for this election to pass by to make that shift. So yeah, it's definitely a meme stock, probably a money grab like most of the things we see come out of DJT. But that's just my personal opinion on that, and I'll leave it at that. All right. So Celsius, let's see. All right. So clearly we've got a pretty firm roof or ceiling up here at 37.23. The question for me is, do we have an opportunity to get into this any earlier than that and use that as a price target? I think the answer might be yes. I want to look at this. Don't like that rejection right there. That gives me a little bit of concern. But that's just one rejection. That's a one-off. So I think what we could take a shot at, I will come back and admit that I was wrong and overly aggressive in my trade entry. Oh, DJT is 11.3. Okay, well, there's, I guess, conflict. That, again, in either case, it's running up right around the election. So that's going to be like a double catalyst for that ticker. And it could, I think do a lot of things for it temporarily, or at least the election might. But I don't know. Again, if the actual earnings is 11.3, I don't think the election is going to make a difference, because I would be willing to certainly lean on the side or in the direction of that earnings report is going to be bad, for the reasons I've already stated, which is, again, they don't really have a user base, and I'm, again, that's not I don't want to have anything like that misconstrued as a political statement. It's just the facts, right? I mean, again, you've got all these other platforms that the folks who lean and a little bit more to the right, they already have their social media in place, and none of them have, it hasn't been a mass exodus away from things like X over to DJT or to True Social, I should say, since it launched. So if that was going to happen, I think it would have happened by now. And it's hard to be a profitable social media company without users. So that is the underlying fly in the ointment with that particular stock. So again, my personal take on it: short those rips whenever you can. All right, but do it strategically. Obviously, don't just say, "Oh, it's up today, I'm gonna short it." Wait till it's hitting a good resistance, some kind of confluence. We've already seen it's had a very hard time with that 200 SMA on the daily. So yeah, from a purely stock analysis standpoint, again, I say stay short on it. But let's get to our Celsius trade plans that I was doing while I was running my mouth there. Celsius live stream plans. I copied that link. There we go. All right. So there is your chart for you guys to follow along with me. Let me get this also posted in the Elite Options chat, so there's some visibility on it. All right. So what are we looking at here on Celsius? Well, we're going to go for the slightly more aggressive, but I think that it's still a good trade opportunity, entry over 35.47. If we can break above that and get confirmation over, we're looking for 37.23 as our first price target. Over 37.23, we've got 38.80 and 39.87 as the rest of our price targets, with a stop loss average down at 34.62 to the downside. We're looking for a break below 33.56. That should give us targets at 32.13, 31.10, and 29.69, with a shared stop loss with the upside trade plan at 34.62. So there you go, Chris, my homie. Hopefully this one keeps our streak alive of being the dynamic duo out here setting these up and knocking them down, right? All right, I know we had Netflix next on the list from Unknown Reviews, who's always here bright and early. Netflix over and back testing as support. All-time highs from the last time I looked at Netflix, which was a while ago. This is one that, I mean, I don't hate shares up in this range, but me, I like to buy volume of shares, and I mean, I could certainly buy an okay volume, but like, lots of hundreds of shares. And where I'm going with that is I would love to see Netflix do a split sometime in the not too distant future. I don't know what if their CEOs ever made comments for or against stock splits, but I would like to see that on Netflix. We're seeing that a lot with a lot of tickers these days. I don't know how I missed that one, but there we go. That's fixed. All right, so let me get my bearings here real quick. Again, I haven't, and I'm assuming, well, maybe I'm assuming incorrectly. Earnings today. So keep that in mind. Or did they? Okay, it's after hours. Earnings after hours today, so keep that in mind. Again, I was going to say, I certainly expected there to be an earnings not too far in the future, considering that this is an Unknown Reviews request. Long-time listener, first-time caller. But Unknown Reviews is here always, or on a regular basis, always here early is what I was trying to say, and always looking for these earnings catalyst plays. Nothing wrong with that at all. Sorry, I'm trying to just get my bearings a little bit. I mean, this is a strong look that it's now back testing these upper ranges of where it really struggled with support where it really struggled with resistance. It's now back testing them as support, which looks pretty favorable for Netflix in my opinion. But let's keep it going. I know that they are like constantly raising their prices. I feel like I get an email or a app notification or something to that effect like every other month. Hey, guess what? We're raising our prices again. I'm like, well, y'all have pretty good content still, so fine, I'll pay you your money. But I am trying to be, I had like way too many streaming services, and again, while money's not really the issue, I've never, maybe it comes, from growing up kind of middle class, slightly maybe leaning barely toward the upper middle class as far as my youth goes, and kind of how my parents did professionally. I've never liked paying for stuff I'm just not using. It just doesn't, it's not efficient. If you should be one thing, it should be efficient. Anybody who watches Letterkenny would know that. All right, let's see. So, long story short, if you're looking for places to save a little bit, go through your recurring streaming services, because I realized after I was like, man, I don't really watch Hulu for anything at all. And then, of course, Hell's Kitchen started back up, and I was like, keep it. But I was getting ready to cut that, and I started looking at all the other ones I had. I was like, holy shit, I've got like Apple TV Plus. I can't tell you the last time I watched anything on Apple TV Plus. I'm sure there's some good stuff on there. It's just been a long time since I watched anything on it. So that got cut until there's a new season of something that I like to watch on there, and then I'll turn it back on. All right. So let's check that. I think we've got enough to start this trade plan. I just wanted to, again, get my bearings real quick, having not looked at Netflix in a little while, but again, really liking how it is handling these prior resistance areas as support now. That looks very good. So overall positive for Netflix. It does have a little bit of a bearish lean to it there on the hourly, but right in the key buying pressure here on the 4 hour. So yeah, I really like it to continue up as long as it's holding over 694.96. That would be my stop loss average down. The question is, and maybe I might actually consider moving that up a little bit. Yeah, I think I would move it up to this prior all-time high, actually. Take that back on the 694.96. Question is, where does a good entry, or where do we get a good opportunity for a nice chunk of upside? And that's a little tricky. All right. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I feel like I'm qualifying my trade plans a lot this morning, so my apologies. That's not something I normally do. But again, I might be a little aggressive or eager on this, but because I think it might be more like a break over 716.38 with a move up to 725.01. Then we could flip that to a stop loss average down, but we're going to be in an entirely different place after this earnings report tonight. So I think the idea is to try to get some indication of how that might play out based on what the price action is doing. So I would say over 707.76 starts to look a little bit bullish to me with a move up to 716.38 over that. I think we've got a potential issue here at 721.17, so I would want to scale out some more. And then ultimately, I think it takes a stab or shot at... God, that all sounded very violent. It tries for. That's probably a less stab or shot. Probably a less violent way of, or violence endorsing way of saying it. 728.68, I think, was what I would look at for third price target to the upside, with a stop loss average down to that previous all-time high there at 770. Downside plan for Netflix, where does that start to get interesting? Yeah, I think there's downside potential below this weekly level. If it does crack that, be looking for a move down to the 681.16 at least for the first target. Second target, 671.04. Third target down here where we double bottomed and started this trend to the upside there at 662.44. Below that, things could get much worse, but that's also very strong looking support that was built up out of prior resistance. So that is pretty solid support. I don't know. Typically when I put these blue lines down, they're kind of placeholders. I'm not sure exactly what I was trying to line up, but there does appear to be a level right around. It's actually maybe a little bit more like that. Hang on, let me make this. That's throwing me off. Yeah, pretty close to this. I mean, this, I'd say right there would be a smart stop loss average down for that downside trade plan. So here we go. Again, don't forget, earnings after hours today. Be very careful swinging anything through that earnings report, but obviously there's potential for high rewards. Just remember that your odds, chances, possibilities of that playing out, even if you're right about the direction, can be diminished some by IV crush and the fact that the move that Netflix makes based on this earnings report does need to be bigger than the anticipated move. which I do not know what the anticipated move is on it, but whatever it is, it needs to be bigger or else you're going to get IV crushed. So let's get to it. Here are our Netflix live stream plans. Did I copy that link? I don't think I did. I'm doing a terrible job of that this morning. Copy link. All right. So here we go. Sorry, just getting this posted everywhere possible so there's eyes on it. What are we looking for here on Netflix as we head into this earnings report this evening? Reminder, earnings report this evening. We're looking for a break over 707.76. There we go. With a first price target at 716.38, second target 721.17, third target 728.68, with a stop loss average down at 770. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 690.01, call it 690, with price targets down at 681.16, 671.04, and then 662.44. Strong support down there with a stop loss average down at 696.41. Those are your Netflix trade plans. You're very welcome, Unknown Reviews. Hope that's helpful. All right, we got time, I think, for one more ticker request. Let me get back over to the Discord. I think I saw somebody asking for AMD and also UNH. Let's see who got their request in first. Helen. Let's take a look at both. And then we'll pick which one we'll plan, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the other. Ooh, AMD. Making a nice bottom off that weekly level. This could be a buy the dip opportunity. Let's take a quick look at United Health. Just had earnings report. That was what? Pre-market Tuesday. Not quite outside of the 3-day grace period that we like to give things after they reported earnings. So let's do this. Let's start with AMD. Let's see if we can't get some really well thought out plans out of this. And then Alchemy, because I don't want to leave you in the lurch, we will take a look at UNH and I'll give you some thoughts on it. How's that sound? You got it, buddy. Is there, are you in a trade currently, or are you looking for a trade entry on UNH out of curiosity? All right, what are we looking for here on AMD? Okay, already in a trade. Okay, that's cool. I'll give you some thoughts. All right, this AMD setup though. Let me hide this. That. Okay. We're looking for a break over 161.90. I think there's a good chance that takes us up to 165.45. However, the one thing that I will say, make sure that you're watching the 200 SMA here on the hourly chart. Again, this should kind of curl to the upside if the price action breaks above and continues to the upside, which would put it right around that level. But if it's still below 165.45, and we're testing that 200 SMA here on the hourly, I would go ahead and use that as PT1. So kind of keep your head on a swivel price target, if you will. Could be a little bit of a dynamic support and resistance. I think this daily level needs a little tweak up to there, which gives us our second price target, and then third target pretty clearly up here at 171.84. I think that's also where our 4-hour flag was pretty close to topping out. Yep. You know what? I'm going to knock it down one level. It's not going to be a huge difference in the price of our options contracts. 171.10, just because that gives it confluence with where that key selling pressure is on Neptune on the 4-hour. I wouldn't want to totally ignore that. That could be a pretty clean and decent rejection there. Stop loss average down, I think I'd have here at 159.67 on AMD to the downside. What looks good? Again, I have a feeling it's going to be a break of this weekly level that we've been holding around 155.97. There's a little bit of a dip below there that got bought up. A couple liquidity sweeps actually that have been bought up below that. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. I'm going to shift this. Let's go with 158.35 entry level. We use this as our first target. It's going to be kind of a tight downside plan as far as the room that we're going to give it to work out. Yeah, I think I want to leave my stop loss. I think I want to share it with that upside trade plan still, to be quite honest. So it's a little bit of a tight window of opportunity there, but I think there is a window of opportunity. Should also give us a pretty good risk reward setup. But again, remember it's tight, so tight means could also pretty easily get stopped out because there's a kind of a limited amount of room, wiggle room that we can give the trade before things start to look very problematic for holding downside contracts. So let's talk through it. Here we go. And then we'll take a quick look at UNH for my friend Alchemy over in our Discord. If you guys haven't already done so, I'm sure Chris, if you're available, is there like a, well, there's an invite link on these live streams, like in the description. So you can go to that, check it out. We do free trials. Definitely lots of good stuff to pick up from the Xtrades Discord community. It is certainly, I joined, in fact, Chris and I were just talking about this recently. It feels like 100 years ago, but I think it's realistically more like 7-8 years ago, maybe somewhere in that neighborhood, that I joined Xtrades, and haven't looked back since. And it really was kind of the thing that, I mean, I was doing pretty well with stocks, but from getting an understanding of options and risk reward scenarios and indicators and all that stuff, Xtrades is really what kind of accelerated my learning path, if you will, or my progress on getting kind of where I wanted to be at with my trading. So give it a shot. Long story short, there are free trials. Definitely worth it. All right, so let's talk through these AMD live stream plans, and then I will take a quick look at UNH, and then we will be out of time for this morning's live stream, not live session. What the hell, buddy? All right, so what are we looking for here on AMD? We're looking for a break over 161.90. That should give us targets at 165.45, 168.75, and 171.10, with a stop loss average down at 159.67. To the downside, we have a very tight window of opportunity, but I think there's a window of opportunity there below 158.35 to take us back down for another test of 155.97, call it 156. With additional targets below 156 at 153.25 and 150.55, with a stop loss average down, shared with the upside trade plan at 159.67, which does give it a fairly tight window of opportunity to work within, but the window of opportunity is there nonetheless. All right, quick look at UNH for Alchemy, currently in calls. Let's see. Let's go higher. Time frame here for a second. There's a daily level right around this 572.73. It looks good. Man, look at that. Actually, I can't believe I just now noticed that. I was kind of looking at this price action up here, but fantastic catch by Neptune right there on that earnings report. I mean, hit the key buying pressure pretty much exactly. Came back up, back tested this next dynamic fib at 554.81, bounced off that. Yeah, I mean, I'd say ultimately, what's your, hang on, let me go back to, yeah, it's pretty good, man. 11.1, 575, 555.60 level. If it breaks back down below this, I'd be out. Like a confirmed break below 550, 560. Because I think below that, it's going to take it down probably for another test of this 540 range. And I just don't know if you have enough time for those contracts with that strike to recover unless, you know, UNH makes some kind of miraculous and unlikely recovery that just, you know, shoots it to the frickin' moon. So, yeah, I would say that's where I would have my stop loss. You know, I think that's also probably a pretty decent spot. We're not too far from it this morning to maybe try to average down to salvage the trade. I don't know how much you got hit by IV crush on those, or if you were holding those from before or after the earnings report. If after, that's obviously a much better situation. Certainly, I'd be scaling some out at 572.73. If you do add to your position, I'd be scaling back out and kind of resizing back to my normal position size at a test there. Then over 572.73. I think there's a pretty good shot at 581.10. So that's just some quick thoughts on it, Alchemy. I hope that that's helpful. Kumar, Neptune is an indicator that I built along with a whole set of rules. It's essentially a trading system that combines some rules and this indicator that I built for TradingView. Got a lot of members using it in Xtrades. I've got a lot of subscribers outside of Xtrades. So if it's, you know, it's not something, and I'll go ahead and say this now, I don't do free trials of it. It's just such a, how do I say this? It's not a good use of my time trying to manage those. Let me say that. And if there's one thing that I try to be very mindful of, because I, you know, can't make more of it or buy more of it, and that's time. So, you know, I try to be very mindful of how I spend that time. And the last thing I want to do is spend it trying to chase down and figure out how to manage, you know, free trials. It's just not something I'm interested in. Neptune will pay for itself within a couple of trades. I don't think I've had anybody who's subscribed to it that has told me anything different so far. So with that being said, we are 10 minutes out from market open. So I do need to go get the SPY plan together for today. I hope this morning's stream was helpful for you guys. Just a couple of quick housekeeping notes. I am going to be out of pocket starting tomorrow through Monday. I will still try to get SPY plans posted if I can, but part of my being out of pocket is going to be air travel. So, I forget what time our flight is tomorrow morning. I probably should know that. Anyway, so I'll be a little bit out of pocket, a little bit absent Friday and Monday. Also won't be able to do member selected tickers, but I will share some photos and stuff like that with everybody from the suite that will be in for the Cleveland Browns Bengals game on Sunday. So with that being said, we will be back next Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. I hope you guys will be ready for that. I want to thank everybody for giving me some of your time this morning. Speaking of time, which was a topic I was just on a moment ago. Thank you for spending some of it with me this morning. Hopefully it's going to pay you great returns and dividends for the time that you've invested in this live stream this morning. So please come back next Tuesday morning at 8:30 a.m. We do these every Tuesday and Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So with that, I want to thank you guys again. This is JTW signing off with our FOMO live stream slogan: plan your trades, trade your plans, go out there, get some green, keep your wins big, keep your losses small. I will see you guys in the chats. Have a fantastic day and kill it as we close out the week. Take care, everybody.